the easy answer is rules. You know, it's really easy to be passionate and emotional about something, but if you've got solid rules in place, then you've got your guidelines already based on those rules. You know, Dean's constantly coaching us on things like what you should and what you shouldn't say. Maybe it's a specific word. Maybe it's the verbiage that we're using when we're talking about something. Like those rules help us fall back to something that allows us to, you know, maybe focus on something else, but also use that to stay a little bit calmer. Rules are for very smart people, Dean, not for fools. What were you thinking?
So that's part of it, but this situation, you have rules. You have encryption like we just talked about. You have tools, you have rules, you have a process, and that falls apart. And this isn't an IT problem, it's a human problem. So if we go back in time a little bit to like the 90s when all the fun hacking movies came out, like Sneakers or Hackers or like anything like that, um, none of it was actual hacker man hacking. It was all right, like social engineering, right? And we all kind of know that. And I think a lot of security awareness training now and just the general mood of the industry, if we were to pull a random tech support person from somewhere in IT on this call right now and ask them about social engineering, they could give us the party line about how somebody could easily get a client's, you know, common information, maybe from their Fi dog collar we were talking about earlier, and use that to, you know, impersonate them. But what's actually the most two common forms of social engineering? Because it's not that. It's the first one is confidence and acting like you're supposed to be there, right? That's the clipboard hard hat thing. You can walk around anywhere. Second one's getting angry. And that's what's so insidious about this. At any point in your life, if you've ever been in the situation where you've seen, maybe like in a retail or customer service setting, somebody go up to the counter and yell at the associate, "Do you know who I am?" You have seen this. And in that moment, it triggers a fight or flight reflex in that person's brain. And all the rules, you pause and you forget they're there. And that right there is the moment of risk. Because if I have all these processes and controls, but somebody is simply causing me to panic, I might not follow them. And in fact, it's why we see in jobs that deal with that kind of stress a lot. So like if you look at like the way the Navy trains people in a submarine, they can't afford to panic, because if that leak is there for 3 more seconds, we're all dead. So the only way around that is through constant training, where it's a muscle memory reflex. We cognitively cannot respond properly in those situations. Tying that all back to help desk, it comes back to the fact that like you've probably trained your team to be a little bit savvy about a user whose voice you don't recognize, or you know, maybe somebody's calling in from a number you don't know, or emailing from a domain you're not sure about. And they're probably savvy about that, but that falls apart in the moment that that person starts to intentionally or unintentionally prey on that fight or flight reflex. I've been victim to it. At our MSP a long time ago, we had a construction client, and it was one of our largest revenue clients, right? That's important. I'm a service manager. I care about our large revenue client. They did not want to have MFA everywhere on their Microsoft account. And as many MSPs at that time allowed, we let them dictate that. They had a user who clicked a link they shouldn't have clicked and filled out, a user in payroll who filled out all the information and then at least had the wherewithal to call us and tell us, hey, this is what I did. I goofed. We panicked. And in that moment of panic, we forcibly enabled MFA across 300 users. Now, you might be saying, okay, I mean, that maybe not the right way to handle that, Dean, but an important step. It's a construction company. So 250 of those users were workmen out in the field whose only way to connect with anyone was a cell phone, and we just locked them out of them because we panicked. And so even in a situation where we were maybe enabling a control that could mitigate damage, we screwed that entire company and lost them a ton of hours and a ton of money and resources and created bigger damage than the actual compromise may have created for them, because we panicked and we forgot those rules.